Alright, so I just got through watching the Paul Heyman podcast. Um, it was a pretty good podcast, I have to say. Now, there's a couple of things I wish they would have touched on. Like, they skipped over Paul Heyman's tenure of being a Smackdown writer, and I would like to see him talk a little bit more about when they rebirthed ECW. But unfortunately, the time constraints of the podcast kind of, cut that out. I would have liked to hear that more than, the road stories. Um, to tell you the truth, like, I don't know, like, hearing those road stories with, like, the Steiner brothers and Sting and Rick Rude, you know, they weren't as like entertaining as it would have been talking about ECW. Now I know Paul Heyman's talked on other podcasts and shoot interviews here on the internet, but having it there with Stone Cold and hearing Stone Cold's reaction would have made it sound fresh. Just wish that they would have talked about that a little bit more. I think that would have been really good. We could have really heard about like exactly what things Heyman wanted to do and when he was writing for SmackDown for ECW. We already know about the CM Punk as champion thing and that elimination chamber back in '06. We know about that stuff, but there's so many more things that could have been touched on. But they did once again talk about the importance of promos and how it wasn't getting done tonight. And Stone Cold also brought up a really good point, and we see this a lot of the time. This is actually really frequent, and this is something that with all the complaining I do, and the bitching and the moaning and all the shit that I talk about, and tear WWE apart. I didn't ever touch on this, believe it or not. Stone Cold even said it. Usually, when you have like two guys in a promo, and one of them is like dissing the other, and the other guy goes like this, like he mouths and he doesn't say it in the mic, and that is a very good point that was made. It's like it's a failed opportunity for a great retort right there, and it just it will go under the radar because it's being mouthed and nobody can hear what's being said unless the camera's like right on them, and you gotta listen really closely. It's not it's like it's a wasted opportunity for something, and for a great comeback in a promo, but it ends up being a total failure. That was a really good point that Stone Cold made there. Also, to be talked about is at the end they did a little bit of a worked promo thrown in there about Stone Cold wrestling Brock Lesnar. Now, I think it would have been interesting if they had Paul Heyman call up Brock Lesnar on the phone. They were going to do that. I don't know why they didn't at least attempt it. But anyway, they had, Stone Cold, like acting like he was getting annoyed at Paul Heyman's challenge. And it's a good point. WrestleMania 32 is going to be in Texas. There's a lot of people. I've never heard this before, but Heyman said there's going to be 100,000 people. Is that maybe like the most people ever? It sounds like it might be even a bigger audience than WrestleMania 3. Anyway, Stone Cold was getting annoyed, and it actually sounded like this for the first time was some legitimate build-up towards a WrestleMania 32 match. And I'll just say this right now. If it doesn't happen at this WrestleMania, that is in fucking Texas, his home state, I really, really doubt that Stone Cold will ever wrestle again. And you can see when Stone Cold is in fucking great condition physically. I don't know how his neck is. I don't fucking know. I'm not his doctor, but he looked like he was in good shape. A match against Lesnar would be great, and he hinted, well, not a hint, but he did say he wants it to be a Texas death match. And this part was a serious tone. This was not jokey. This was not, them just being playful. This was actually like legitimate build up. Like this was worked. This was part of the show, so to speak. So, that was really interesting. I really liked what they did at the end there. Kind of carrying it over. They know a lot of people watch the Stone Cold podcast when it airs on the network. So, that was a good, that was a good start right there. And I don't see why they can't get Stone Cold on television more and build the fuck out of this match. Like Stone Cold said, he does not want it to happen unless they build the fuck out of it. And definitely build the fuck out of it. Oh yeah, also that's what I want to mention too about, me saying the word fuck. It's a little bit goddamn fucking ridiculous that this is on the network where it could be, it's okay to have it uncensored. I could have sworn that there was curses before, with Stone Cold when he was on there. Well, didn't he curse in the past? I don't know. But anyway, Stone Cold, that story with Rick Rude in the car, just by having Heyman say gosh darn and everything, it really killed, any chance they had of telling a good story. I mean, because they were like, oh, how can we tell this story without fucking cursing? It was a bit ridiculous, is all I'm saying. It's like, how the hell are they supposed to fucking tell a story that involves people cursing if they can't fucking curse on it? I just thought that was, a bit fucking lame. But overall, I did enjoy this podcast. I like them, I like when they talk about the business as a whole. But here's the thing. That's Vince McMahon, Triple H, and Paul Heyman, all back-to-back, all saying that there's a lot of problems with the fucking business right now. Vince McMahon himself. And still, why do these problems persist? It's almost fucking maddening that you have three of these influential people, two of them being owners of this fucking company, and, have a huge hand in creative, and still all these fucking problems persist. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, and right there it was like evident. Right there on the fucking network. They can't even tell a fucking goddamn fucking road story because of the goddamn PG rating. Because it was that word exactly. They couldn't say goddamn. They had to say gosh darn it. And they even acknowledged how this was going to make the story hard to tell. And you're damn right it did, and it wasn't funny because, you gotta say the fucking word that's actually funny in the fucking story to be able to tell it, and for it to be a successful story that's actually gonna make people laugh. That's what I'm saying. There was no point in them telling those road stories because they were butchered by the PG motherfucking rating. They were better off just talking about the Smackdown writing tenure or the ECW one, something, that would have made it more interesting. But anyway, I seriously think that they are going to at least try to get this Brock Austin match to happen. I think it might actually happen. It might. I don't think they would take all the time to do that if they weren't going to genuinely make an effort to have the match actually happen. So, there you go, motherfuckers. Enjoyable podcast. As I said, there are some things that I didn't like about it that they could have handled a little bit better. And this PG rating, for God fucking sakes, as I said, there's parental controls on the network. There's no reason why it needs to be censored like this. For fuck's sakes. Alright.